On the World in 80 Days, Chapter 8, in which Passepartout talks rather more, perhaps, than is prudent. Fix soon rejoined Passepartout, who was lounging and looking about on the quay as if he did not feel that he, at least, was obligated to not to see anything. "Well, my friend," said the detective, coming up with him, "is your passport visaed?" "Ah, it is you, is it, monsieur?" responded Passepartout. "Yes, thanks, the passport is all right." "And you are looking about you?" "Yes, but we travel so fast that I seem to be journeying in a dream. So this is Suez. Yes. In Egypt? Certainly in Egypt. And in Africa? In Africa." "In Africa," repeated Passepartout. "Just think, monsieur, I had no idea that we should go further than Paris, and all I saw of Paris was between 20 minutes past 7 and 20 minutes before 9 in the morning, between the Northern and Lyons stations, through the windows of a car in a driving rain. How I regret not having seen once more the Père Lachaise or the circus in Champs-Élysées." "You are in a great hurry, then?" "I am not, but my master is. By the way, I must buy some shoes and shirts. We have come away without trunks and only with a carpet bag." "I shall show you an excellent shop for getting what you want. Really, monsieur, you are very kind." And they walked off together, Passepartout chiding volubly as they went along. "Above all," said he, "don't let me lose the steamer." "You have plenty of time. It's only 12 o'clock." Passepartout pulled out his big watch. "12!" he exclaimed. "Why, it's only 8 minutes before 10. Your watch is slow." "My watch? A family watch, monsieur, which has come down from my great-grandfather. It does not vary 5 minutes in the year. It is a perfect chronometer, look you." "I see how it is," said Fix. "You have kept London time, which is 2 hours behind that of Suez. You ought to regulate your watch at noon in each country." "I regulate my watch? Never." "Well, then it will not agree with the sun." "So much the worse for the sun, monsieur. The sun will be wrong then." And the worthy fellow returned the watch to its fob in a defiant gesture. After a few minutes' silence, Fix resumed. "You left London hastily, then?" "I rather think so. Last Friday at 8 o'clock in the evening, Monsieur Fogg came home from his club. 3/4 of an hour afterwards we were off." "But where is your master going?" "Always straight ahead. He is going around the world." "Round the world?" cried Fix. "Yes, and in 80 days. He says it's on a wager, but between us I don't believe a word of it. That wouldn't be common sense. There's something else in the wind. Ah, Mr. Fogg is a character, is he?" "I should say he was. Is he rich?" "No doubt, for he is carrying an enormous sum in a brand new banknotes with him. And he doesn't spare money on the way, either. He has offered a large reward to the engineer of the Mongolia if he gets us to Bombay well in advance of time." "And you have known your master a long time?" "Why, no. I entered his service the very day we left London." The effect of these replies on the already suspicious and excited detective may be imagined. The hasty departure from London soon after the robbery, the large sum carried by Mr. Fogg, his eagerness to reach distant countries, the pretext of an eccentric and foolhardy bet, all confirmed Fix in his theory. He continued to pump poor Passepartout and learned that he really knew little or nothing of his master, who lived a solitary existence in London, was said to be rich, though no one knew whence came his riches, and was mysterious and impenetrable in his affairs and habits. Fix felt sure that Phileas Fogg would not land at Suez, but was really going on to Bombay. "Is Bombay far from here?" asked Passepartout. "Pretty far. It is 10 days' voyage by sea." "And in what country is Bombay?" "India." "In Asia?" "In Asia? Certainly." "The deuce! I was going to tell you that there's one thing that worries me. My burner." "What burner?" "My gas burner, which I forgot to turn off, and which is at this moment burning at my expense. I have calculated, monsieur, that I shall lose 2 shillings for every 24 hours, exactly 6 pence more than I earn, and you will understand that the longer our journey." Did Fix pay any attention to Passepartout's trouble about the gas? It is not probable. He was not listening, but he was cogitating a project. Passepartout and he had now reached the shop, where Fix left his companion to make his purchases, after recommending him not to miss the steamer, and hurried back to the consulate. Now that he was fully convinced, Fix had quite recovered his equanimity. "Consul," said he, "I have no longer any doubt. I have spotted my man. He passes himself off as an old stick who's going around the world in 80 days. Then he's a sharp fellow, returned the consul, and counts on returning to London after putting the police of the two countries off his track. We'll see about that, replied Fix. But are you not mistaken? I am not mistaken. Why was this robber so anxious to prove by visa that he had passed through Suez? Why, I have no idea, but listen to me. He reported in a few words the most important parts of his conversation with Passepartout. In short, said the consul, appearances are wholly against this man, and what are you going to do? This is the end of chapter 8. So you notice that Passepartout's watch was 2 hours off of the sun. And that's because of time zones. Around the world, there's 24 hours in a day. The Earth spins around once a day. So they divide the Earth up into time zones, each 1 hour wide. There's some variation. There's some half-hour time zones. There's some weirdly aligned ones. But for the most part, it's one time zone to each hour. Now, Eastern time, where I am, is GMT minus 5. GMT is Greenwich Mean Time or London time, named after the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, England, which is right smack dab where zero longitude is, or zero latitude, zero longitude. Zero starts at Greenwich, and there's a line that runs north-south called the Prime Meridian, and it starts right in London, and that is GMT, which is the universal zero. So the whole planet is like, okay, this is zero. Eastern time is 5 hours off of Greenwich time. Central time, which Nebraska is 6 hours off. 7 to Denver, 8 to Los Angeles, 11 to Hawaii. And then if you start counting the other way, you have England, which is 0. France and Germany are +1. +2 is Poland, Russia, Egypt. +3, +5. India is like +7, I think. China's +10. I once did a phone call with people in China. And doing a phone call with people in China is difficult because they're 12 hours off of where we are. So I guess we're -5, they're +7. No, +6. 8. +8. Your Lolly has a map. Your Lolly has a cool map and she's bringing it over. But anyway, so -5. All of China is one time zone, which is kind of cool. And they can get away with it because, they can get away with it. But here's the map. Oh, wow. So Lolly, point out England. Okay, that's GMT. Point out China. And that is, that's all of China is one time zone. And what does it say there?
I think that's +8.
+8?
+8.
So China is +8. Eastern time?
-5.
-5. So -5 +8. 5 + 8 is 13. So there's a 13-hour time zone difference. So when they were getting in at 9 o'clock in the morning, it was 10 o'clock at night for me. And so, we called to work out some problems with the phone app. And they were an important customer. And, I wanted to work it out. So, we had issues with them. They had issues with us. And we're like, look, we need to get a call. And so I said, when is a good time for me to call you? Or for you guys to call me or me to call you? And we worked it out, the end of the day for me, the beginning of the day for them. And if they wanted to call it midnight, I would have said, fine, call it midnight. 2 a.m., call it 2 a.m. But anyway, that's time zones. Continental U.S. has 4 time zones, and you have Alaska and Hawaii who have their own. And then there's daylight savings time. Daylight savings time is just bad and wrong and just all sorts of, because it goes from, you have the GMT, which is always GMT. But in the summertime, the eastern US goes from being 5 hours off of GMT to being 4 hours off of GMT. So that the day starts an hour earlier and then ends an hour later. And so twice a year you go and you change your clocks around, which doesn't really do anything because, just moving the day around. And part of the idea is that you don't want the sun to rise at 5 o'clock in the morning. And, I kind of understand that. But at the same time, if the day starts at 8, why don't you just start the day at 7? Or if the day starts at 9, you start it at 8. So just adjust summer hours as needed, as opposed to the whole, hey, let's everybody change our clocks. And they say it confuses the cows. But honestly, in this case, the cows are right. So, Chapter 8, Around the World in 80 Days, and Time Zones. Fun, fun, fun.